Obama was dropping more bombs than George Bush, doing Libya, Syria, Afghanistan for 20 minutes. Just horrible, horrible things that we wouldn't let Republicans do. I think people would be outraged, right? That right now, if Donald Trump was saber rattling with 2 nuclear powers, everybody's hair would be on fire. But because it's Joe Biden and the Democrats doing it, they think it's good. They think somehow it's the moral and Christian thing to do.
What the really weird thing is for me to think about, because President Biden started censoring me 37 hours after he took office. The White House contacted Twitter and said, we want, Robert Kennedy's account off of Twitter. 37 hours after he took the oath of office. And this is all in this 155-page decision by Judge Doty. And they were telling Twitter didn't want to censor me. And Twitter ended up censoring me the least. But, 3 weeks after that, Instagram took my account down. Facebook, was all in on it. And what they were saying to Twitter is, if you don't censor him and a bunch of other people, we're going to yank your Section 230 immunity. And Section 230 is existential for these companies. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg said that is existential. Without Section 230, Facebook
Section 230 protects the social media companies from being sued as if they were a publisher.
For defamation, right? So you could slander me. You can go onto Facebook and you can say, Robert Kennedy's a Nazi, right? He's a member of the Nazi Party of America, when you know that's a lie.
Sounds like a threat. That you can't blackmail people. That sounds like that sounds like blackmail, like the blackmailing Facebook and YouTube. Also, this is when they were taking down petition signatures, when they were tagging people on Facebook groups and getting lots of signatures, and then suddenly the messenger limits got reduced, so you could only messenger so many people a day if they weren't on your friends list. So you couldn't go through all the groups asking people to sign petitions. And when you were tagging like 50 people, which Facebook says you can tag 50 people, it was just taking I was getting like 20 signatures every time I tagged 50 people, and then it just started getting deleted when the links to petitions. This is what Mark Zuckerberg says, we remove things that were debatable. It was just debatable, like signable. If this was Biden behind this, but what this Dr. Campbell is saying is that he was saying that the British government couldn't remove political material of British people. So what I think they were doing was the American government were removing British people's political material from Facebook, and the British were removing American people's stuff, because the armies can't remove their own citizens' political material. So what was happening is that they were doing that. This is what the Big Brother Watch was investigating. There's a program from the Big Brother Watch that actually interviewed some of these soldiers who worked in the 77th Brigade, who were doing these operations and taking down stuff. The government said, we've actually been politically censored illegally. It's actually illegal. This is what it protects you from. This is what the whole point of this law and right exists for. This is why it exists. This is why it actually exists. This is the purpose of it. And if Biden was directing these platforms to take it down, I don't think it was just the platforms taking it down and taking this channel and that down. I think that the government departments were just going in there and hacking it and doing it anyway. So we're taking it down, because you don't know. You can never really speak to any individual person at Facebook or YouTube and get really an answer, because their Twitter and their email replies are very elusive. They won't answer any questions. They don't give any names. It's all almost like, the Wizard of Oz, the man behind the curtain. And this is what basically these corporate entities represent now. There's no liability, there's no responsibility. And the fact that apparently they're shielded as a third party, they themselves, basically, RFK has just confirmed a question that I wanted to know the answer to. With the copyright, with the DMCA, the the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, this means that, YouTube and Facebook and so forth aren't liable for copyright claims. They're just mediators in between. So the copyright claim is only being brought by a third party, right? And you can actually go to court on the ccb.gov website, and you can take legal action against these claims. Quite simple, small claims court. But what RFK is just saying now is that also he's saying now that the platforms also themselves, the platforms aren't responsible for the community standards violations. It's saying that you can't sue YouTube or Facebook. This is what RFK has just said, if I've just heard him right and understood it right. So, but what the whole thing apparently is about private platforms. Apparently you can't say what you want on a private platform. But if the private platform is not liable for what you say on the private platform, only another party, then why are they removing stuff? If they themselves, the platform, aren't liable for what people say. Either if you break a law of America or England, then it's the Crown Prosecution Service and police you're answerable to if they want to take charges or not. If it's another person, another party, then if you broke the law against that other person or party, then either the police or CPS act, or if that person wants to sue you. But what RFK is just saying now by this section or article or whatever that Biden was threatening to take away, he's saying that the platforms aren't liable. So why would the platforms have any interest in pulling any political materials? There's some very, very sinister games going on here between the White House and Biden and, Zuckerberg and Musk and Google, and Neil Mohan now. If it's the government who are intervening and saying take things down, right? If it is the government saying take RFK is protected from the White House in political opposition, right? The White House can't tell a third party to take down RFK stuff politically because it's what RFK is speaking about on his campaign run is to get elected to oppose the White House establishment. So they can't direct anyone to do anything. And Congress can't make a law, then Biden can't give a direction. Biden can't give a command or order or direction, but because what law is he operating on? And what law is being made to make it illegal for you to post anything on these platforms anyway for political purposes? Now that law that protects Zuckerberg, what RFK has just quoted, or what protects them, the platforms, that's got nothing to do with us. But what Biden was saying, if Biden's threatening them that he's going to take legal action against them if they don't remove our stuff, but they haven't got a legal right to remove our stuff because no law exists what they could use to take it down with, because the law that does exist says that forbids them to act. So Biden can say what he wants. Mark Zuckerberg and the other platforms, they're protected from having legal action taken against them for third-party stuff until they remove our, explicitly, we say, identified, recognised political materials, which is covered by the law from anyone, anything, any government, any person, any entity, any company, businessman, living, dead, alien entity, or conceivable legal entity or object that could be perceived or defined in law. Now, the military are playing a very dangerous game by crossing the wires over through America taking England stuff out because it's not American citizens, and England taking America stuff out, just like they're using the child porn in America because they can publish it and possess it as long as they aren't having sex with a child, photographs of it, and then getting English people, it popping up on English people's websites, and then the English government prosecuting people. They're playing games. And this is more serious than Hunter Biden. This is more, I couldn't care what businesses or illegal businesses Biden or Hunter Biden are doing or what he's playing at. This is treason. This is treason against the people, and it's using platforms, a business model that crisscrosses between countries in order to evade the political rights in their own country and actually use your enemy, or in this case, not your enemy, it's not Putin, but it's your allies, but in another country. This is worse than having an army base in England. This is worse than that shenanigans with Anne Secoulis when they pulled her out with diplomatic immunity, having an American airbase in England, and this is worse than Assange being in diplomatic grounds in foreign countries under protection. This is worse than that. Joe Biden is literally is worse than Finnegan's Wake. He look at the man. He is Finnegan. There was no man called Michael Finnegan. He grew whiskers on his chin again. Biden is the embodied genealogy of Finnegan, the cheat, the Irish cheat. He's the scammer, the trickster, the ultimate fiddler of the people. That is Joe Biden. And the fact that they've got him there actually going senile and he's tripping up over stuff, it's worse than Finnegan's Wake. It actually is a joke from the military-industrial complex on the world. And I don't think it's just them telling Facebook and YouTube to do this or do that. They're intersecting whether or not Mark Zuckerberg is aware of it or not. They're just going in there and they're just taking it down, regardless of contacting Zuckerberg or not, like the anonymous sort of, like some sort of anonymous movement style operation. And it's got nothing to do with Zuckerberg or the other parties, because they're just going in there onto his platform and doing it anyway, whether they tell him or not. You can't legally take the material down. And actually, this is beyond RFK, Marianne Williamson, this now. When Obama was in the White House, he had that petition site at the White House set up to accept petitions from anyone. In England, listed it with my address and name and registered it, and they ran it and they collected signatures on it in America. You didn't have to be an American citizen, right? So if I can ask for something from the American government, then I can I can support RFK to the White House or Marianne Williamson to the White House. And if not, then Obama clearly was breaking the law. And Obama needs to have legal charges against him, not just Trump. That means I can send money to Marianne Williamson or to RFK if I can run a petition on the White House website, which I did. Or if not, then Obama needs to have legal charges against him for the We the People site being illegally run. Because that means I can have a say in American politics. And that means that the American government actually can't take my petitions down in America. You know? We're being fiddled. And the fact that even Marianne Williamson, RFK and other people aren't that clued in. This is what we're working on now with these rights. And like The Hill, unfortunately, even though they're on the right side in this, they're spreading misinformation by The Hill are talking about things, and he's like, he's trying to, he's saying that, you know, oh yeah, we can't do this and that on private platforms, which is a load of rubbish. It's not even being treated as a private platform. You know, if it were private, then they'd do what they want. But apparently, you know, Biden's going in and telling people to do stuff. What Biden should be doing, if this was a pure government of absolute honesty and fairness without any bias towards its opposition, just so we got voted in and we're going to run the law how we want, and they didn't cheat, they would be contacting YouTube to put up and restore all political materials without question. They would be telling Zuckerberg and all these people to put it back up. That's what the committee are meant to do in the government and White House. That's the problem. Now, why is Biden doing the opposite? Because he's not a person, you won't want to play tennis with him. It's like kicking you in the shin while playing tennis, or taking your racket off you, or, asking, getting someone in the audience to throw some at you. Biden's a cheat. He's an absolute and complete cheat. And so are the British government and the Petitions Committee. Martin Day, I know all the name, Martin Day, all those people are rejecting petitions unlawfully. It's shameful that they're not only playing dumb, but they're actually lying. And we're not having enough impeachments in England. We need some of these MPs to be prosecuted by the Supreme Court. And nobody's doing it. Nobody's even entertaining it. Not even Jonathan N. Fuller or It's Rebellion are asking for it, or anyone. I think all the voices are being censored. Anything which I've noticed that anytime I even see a live broadcast where people are raising the subject of taking action against the MPs or government or anything like that, it suddenly vanishes or disappears because they don't want people to start talking about it and get that idea and start pursuing that line of inquiry. And this is what I think they're using 77th Brigade for. They say, defending the government. No, we've got the right for a grievance to actually, by petition, you can ask for anything, including having action taken against your MPs, which you elected to have them in. You can ask for them to be brought out or have legal action against them. And you can petition for criminal cases to be brought, because MPs can direct and instruct inquiry, and they can just pick up the phone, and all you're doing is, pick up the phone and phone the police. It's His Majesty's police force. It's His Majesty's government. I don't care if they try and say the CPS is, it's a Crown prosecution service. It's funded by the taxpayer. If it's funded by the taxpayer, then we can have a say in it.
And I then can say, I can then sue you, but I can't sue Facebook.
Right.
Right? And if I could sue Facebook, they would have to vet with a lawyer every single post on Facebook, and they'd be...
No, you can, RFK, you can sue Facebook themselves and YouTube, which is what I want to take them to court for, when they are not telling the truth, when they are publishing fraudulent notices, when they are publishing a policy which either is false, a lie, or they remove content fraudulently. If they say your video has got bananas in it, right, and there's no bananas in it, they can't do that, because if they issue a notice, a legal notice, where they say they remove your content because it's got bananas in because it's against policy and there's none in it, they can't do that. It's a false statement, and that's against the law. They aren't immune from... What they're doing is they're saying to us that they're removing all our content and stuff because if it's fraudulent or vexatious or giving false statements or misinformation, I don't care if it's nothing to do with them. If I want to sue RFK or if RFK wants to sue me, but not Facebook, we're talking about Facebook itself breaking all the laws of America. Like the actual laws, like you walking down the street and them kicking you in the balls, or them telling a lie. They can't issue a false claim or false statement against you, because if you have to legally, they're asking you to appeal it. You can't appeal something that is false, because how can you make a response to a false statement? They can't say we've taken your video of bananas down because it's against this policy. And then when you have to appeal to them, you have to explain to them about something that isn't there, because then you can't make an appeal because the information they're telling you to base your appeal on is wrong. They're lying. It's a fraudulent statement giving a false account of information. Now, they took one of my videos down. It was European Parliament. It's on other channels. I challenged them on Twitter, and then they came back to me and said, oh, sorry, it's a mistake on our behalf, which it was, because no such content existed of what they claimed, right? So, right there, they did take it down wrongly. Now, the thing is, you can't really communicate with them. It's terrible communication. You want a proper live chat. They don't want to answer questions. They don't want to tell you which member of staff you're talking to, you know, or whatever. They just want to brick wall it and be extremely vague about things, and then we don't even know what's happening. If everyone on YouTube who had something taken down on YouTube go, oh, sorry, you know, it was our fault after all the time you've had from your videos being taken down, the loss of work, some of it's legal material, like some of my videos, the videos that I'm recording, this is my actual legal claim against YouTube. This is the legal claim part of it. This is the criteria and detailing of the legal claim against YouTube. Now, RFK can ask people to send him evidence. If RFK's claiming against YouTube like he is actually against YouTube, right? If we need group litigation, if RFK on his table has a pile of evidence and statements from YouTube users who have had videos taken down when there was no such content whatsoever in the claim. YouTube took it down, they said, oh, you know, it's this or that, COVID or whatever, and they never mentioned it once in the video. That is a false claim, and it's giving a false account of something, right? And that's serious when you start getting into the hundreds of instances, thousands of instances, or even 1 million instances, because you've got a mass fraud. And it's got absolutely nothing to do with the other parties, like me or Joe Blogs, and Mark Zuckerberg can't get involved because he's immune. We're talking about these platforms giving false claims. And Zuckerberg, he was taking stuff down based on the premise that it was commercial spam or limiting commercial messages in his messenger because it's spam. He can't remove and censor petition signatures asking for signatures, and he can't remove it because he says he will comply with the local government law. Parliament instructs and directs you. This is important. In the service of notices, through all the services of notices that are delivered by the postman or anyone, it explicitly says that it refers to the legally required notices, like when the council are doing works, they've got to publish it in the newspaper or in the London Gazette or in at least one major newspaper. It's a legally required notice. Right? It's legally required. The newspaper can't turn it down. When you're petitioning the people, you've got to collect as many signatures as you can from the public. It says on the Parliament website, it explicitly names the websites which it requires you to publish them on, which are Twitter and YouTube and use email. Sorry, it doesn't say YouTube. Facebook and Twitter, but also includes YouTube. You are doing a legal case to Parliament, and Parliament give you instructions to share it on Twitter and YouTube as part of the requirement. Why? Because you're collecting evidence in a legal proceeding of public concern, which is regarded as part of the evidence to the Palace of Westminster. It's a legal case. It is an exhibit of evidence, like in the Inquiries Act, 1A and 1B. Evidence of the facts that you are claiming and evidence of the public concern, which you are gathering so the minister can initiate the inquiry. It's an legal evidence of slightly different nature to a criminal or civil court case, because this type of official proceedings, judicial proceedings to Parliament, take place outside of the Parliament, which these people don't seem to be able to get their heads around. It's a legally required notice. And Mark Zuckerberg and Neil Mohan and the rest of them don't have the legal power or authority to remove it no matter what Biden says. Why is Biden being prosecuted for ridiculous, fickle, un-Biden stuff when he's committing treason against his own legal proceedings of his own subjects of America and England, but no one will talk about it because it's too big. It's so big that the 77th Battalion and Charles are having to do military-style operations from a private enterprise with trillions at their disposal, which is whoever else is involved in it. We need to put a stop to this removal because it is not being recognised. It doesn't matter if it's private or not. If you walk into someone's house, they can't tell you, even in a library, be quiet. Where's the law of the library? You have to ask for books. Oh, there's a volume level. In free speech, you have the free speech law is free speech of you, your person. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter if you're in someone's front room or at work or at home. The free speech is of the creature, of the individual, of the person, regardless of the surroundings. And when it's for political purposes, even more so. This is what people were getting prosecuted for and having private meetings in private houses and so forth. And it's explicitly set out by Professor Karen Bowie that this is what are the reasons why this law was created. For those reasons, in private premises, on private property, speaking freely about things and not getting arrested or prosecuted or it being removed. Because otherwise you couldn't actually have a case or set it out. There's something seriously wrong with Biden. He can't even walk across a platform without tripping up. How is he in a fit state to direct people on what they should be or not saying on the internet? And it's coming from military. And he's the scapegoat. I won't be surprised if some of the messages are coming from the military without him even knowing about it, because I don't think Biden even knows what the hell's going on. We need to put a stop to this.
Out of business.
Right.
Oh, they have a section called Section 230, the Communications Act, I think, that says they don't have to, that they're protected against that. And what the White House was telling Twitter and Facebook is, if you don't censor these guys, and they were censoring us, talking about the Ukraine war for criticizing it. At one point, there was a satire about President Biden and his wife that they wanted removed. So these were like just political decisions that they weren't even. And my information, by the way, I never posted not a single bit of what was misinformation. They had to invent a new word. What I was posting was factually correct. Everything I posted on Instagram was cited to a peer-reviewed publication or to a government database. So I was very careful. And we have a big, at CHD, Children's Health Defense, a big infrastructure, fact-checking infrastructure, probably more robust than anybody else. Oh, they had to invent a new word called malinformation.
Yes.
Which is not misinformation, malinformation, which is information that is technically true, but it's inconvenient for the government.
Yes.
So, and that's what they were censoring me for. So, so they were, making that threat. We're going to pull your Section 230 immunity unless you criticize, unless you shut down our political opponents. What if President Trump had done that? What would we be doing if he had done that? Okay, at what level would the decibels be of our objections if President Trump did that? And
there's no objection because it's being done by. In fact, people say it's not even happening, even though.
I've been told again and again. I mean, in fact, what's his name? Lawrence O'Donnell did this big hit piece on me, and he said in there, Robert Kennedy says he's been censored. He has never been censored.
Oh my God.
And, I don't know whether Lawrence O'Donnell thinks that if he's not paying attention, if they just live in a bubble where they don't even know what's happening in this country right now, I don't know.
There couldn't be a guy who knows less about what's happening in the country than any of the hosts on MSNBC. How about that? Come see our live shows. We're going to be